Hey everyone, I just wanted to make this quick video to talk about anime and gun control and how they're linked. Now, this might sound strange to you, like, okay, so how are anime and gun control linked? Like, just the topic alone, I know it sounds crazy to think about, but, since Sandy Hook here in the US, gun debate has been primarily the top issue. People can say, no, it's not, but you look all over the news, you can't go without seeing one story about gun control. And, I mean, people notice here and there, like, people that like anything with guns in them, that certain TV shows are being canceled because they have guns in them. Certain shows are being certain advertisements are being banned from TV or stations or channels, things like that. And certain forms of media are being attacked, like anime and video games, like especially anime and video games, because um, all these politicians are quick to point out how they promote violence, and this isn't nothing new. So we're very familiar with the finger being pointed at anime and video games, going back to as far as 1992 with Mortal Kombat. At least as far as I'm aware of. But playing these games don't make people violent, and that's true. But there are some games that I would say are government propaganda, like the Call of Duty games. People can say, "Oh no, they're not." Well, the games haven't been interesting since after 4. I mean, there are a lot of people going out and admitting that to that. With the latest games being released, they're not as interesting as they used to be. So, I would say, yeah, that those games are propaganda. Um, but there are games out there that, even with the gun violence in them, they promote the empowerment of self-defense and all that. One example that comes to mind of recent examples, this game isn't even out yet, but there's a trailer out there with a controversial scene known as the quote rape scene, and I'm pretty sure by mentioning that I give it in a way what game I'm talking about, being Tomb Raider, where Lara is getting assaulted. Now remember that I said this, the word assaulted, because I'm going to explain why I said that word specifically after this. She's getting assaulted, and she realizes, like, okay, she doesn't like the fact that she has to fight here. She doesn't want to kill anyone, but it's a life or death situation, so she knees the guy in his, balls or whatever, bites his ear, and she's tied up, so her hands are behind her back at this point, while she's doing all this. She tackles him, he drops the gun that he was holding, to have his way with her. He drops it, she breaks loose, like, because since her hands are tied up with a rope, she manages to get her hands loose. She grabs the gun, then they're fighting for the gun, and she shoots him. So, that's one example of self-defense. And as far as video game goes, and Lara's a tough character. Like, she's a famous character in the video gaming world, so, but I think that's actually one of the good messages about, how a tool can be used to save a life. In this case, it's about, okay, you have to use the tool to save your own life, like, because at this point of the game, it's one of those quick time event sequences, but it's which makes this cutscene even more dramatic because it's like, okay, you're playing as the character, so you see it from the character's point of view as like, okay, well, this is me, this is happening to, so that's the image you get with that scene. But let me move on to other examples. Anime. There's tons of examples of, you know, senseless violence, but also tons of examples of when you would need it. One example I could think of was, and this is a video game that does have an anime, by the way, Valkyria Chronicles, which, they're at a war, and there's an evil king dictator that's just trying to get control of all of that land. It's like a fictional Europe. So, all these soldiers have all these guns and everything, and they're all fighting. Basically a royal military to defend the entire land that they live on. Because, it's just one king from one country or nation or whatever trying to overthrow an entire land, escape a whole entire different nation. So that's why I'm bringing up that example. There's also Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, in which, a religious man, and I'm pretty sure this show is referencing Hitler by going to the fact that this person's religious. He tries to sacrifice the entire nation in that series, and the military personnel, they catch on and they overthrow him. They stop him before it's too late. Like, all his heads involved and everything. Much like what we're seeing now within our own government. It's like you're hearing all these politicians talk about how to limit gun violence, but when you look at all their solutions, it's talking about taking the guns out of the hands of, the citizens, the law-abiding citizens, because very well that any criminal that gets a weapon, they won't go through the normal legal process. They'll actually go to a black market dealer. They'll go on all these alternative ways. About gang violence and everything, and how do they get weapons? They don't go legally to a store, show a gun permit, and buy a weapon. So we all know that, at least most of us that don't even pay attention to the news a whole lot know about this kind of stuff, where that's just not the answer. Taking the gun away from citizens, because this happened in various countries. It happened in the UK. What happened? Crime skyrocketed with guns. Citizens can't have guns, but a whole bunch of criminals have them. And people get arrested over there for trying to defend themselves in their own home. So, it's even worse. Australia, guns were taken from there. Crime went up. I'm not sure how much, but I know crime did go up afterwards. But let's talk about other moments of history. Now, I'm 22, and I finished high school in 2009, but I'm pretty sure things haven't changed all that much in terms of what we learn in school, particularly history, because I'm pretty sure, all of you guys out there that are still in school, especially us anime lovers, in history class we learn about World War II and what Hitler did during, the Holocaust, how he had people in all these concentration camps. He starved them to death, and they were also like internment camps, so he was trying to convert them to his way of thinking, and whenever a loved one, of these families that were split up by gender and, and of course, women with the children and all that stuff. Whenever they died, they had to hold in their emotions. They couldn't show emotion, or he'd kill them. Um, but what the history books do not tell you, and what they do not teach you over there, is that Hitler, just like our presidents here, was democratically voted into power. And, he said he was going to do all these things just like our president the last 4 years did. And he slowly started to betray their trust. And what is our president doing now? And people went along with it. And then it got to the point to where it was about gun control now. And people went along with it. And then what came after? The concentration camps. Everything that was already set up. And, this was a whole religious-based thing where, Jews were attacking Christians, just people that didn't agree with them in Germany. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, how does this relate to America? Well, look at everything our president's been doing. The past few years, look at what's going on now in the world around you. Don't watch the mainstream news media. I mean, at least not on TV. But I'm sure you can look up the news, just watch online, look at a few things, and if you actually do some looking for yourselves, I mean, there might be people watching this going, I don't care about guns, so why should this concern me? Well, even if you yourself do not like guns, do not want to own them, this should concern you. Because, it's our Second Amendment right, our Bill of Rights. Without that, there is no Constitution, there is no other amendments. So, this is a direct attack to your First Amendment along with the Second Amendment. Because they're saying we should just outright ban all these violent shows. People are thinking, oh, they won't go along with that. These entertainment companies, some of them are involved with it, and they'll go along with whatever they don't want. If they don't agree with people watching anime just because they don't like it, they'll force through an anime ban. They do all these things outside of law anyway, so why wouldn't they do that? Why wouldn't they do anything that, like, look right now. If you watch Cartoon Network, that channel is a big joke. That Disney XD, which used to be called Toon Disney, is now a joke, because at one point Disney did have shows that they had mild violence, like, it wasn't really that bad. And I don't mean Naruto or anything, I mean shows, just regular Disney animated shows that showcase violence in any form. Even the older series, like, the old Aladdin series, the old Little Mermaid series, hey, even the old Mickey Mouse cartoons were pretty violent, so why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't they start banning all these shows? Like, they're trying to create this picture that life is like this big sitcom with everything you see on TV now. I mean, people are so out of reality that it's like they don't know what's going on. I mean, yes, if you like art, you like anime, music. At one point, music was promoting violence, so the politicians said. So certain music was banned and all. So why isn't it crazy to think that anything we like now is being attacked, especially if it's, quote, pro-gun? I mean, it doesn't matter if you just want to be entertained. The point is, even in the entertainment world now, we're under attack. And I'll let you know this right now. I hate politics. I absolutely hate politics. But what got me to really pay attention to this was a report I read on joystick.com. And this report was done on the same topic of, by GameSpot and by Eurogamer, where Microsoft documents leaked out, about the development of the next Xbox. And the document was basically outlining plans to introduce a kind of TV license like they have in the UK, where it would enforce it by actually using visual surveillance, meaning watching you through anything with a camera on it. Whether it's your TV, if you have a smart TV, your iPod, your phone, anything connected to the internet would just affect you. So it's not crazy to think that they'd try to intrude on you in some way. And then it went on even further to say that companies would not only be able to watch you, but charge you for anything you own that you're possibly a game you're playing, music you're listening to, or what you're watching. And for each additional person. So let's say you decide you want to have a movie party and you invite 10 friends over to watch a movie. Suddenly you find yourself paying like $100, or your parents, just to watch whatever you're watching, as they charge you for each person. That's basically what the patent was outlining, like in the report I read. And then looking that up even more to find out who else was talking about it, it led me to news about other things that going along with in our own government. So I started there, and it led me from one thing to the next. All of a sudden I found myself wanting to go, hey, what is going on in our world today? Because I don't care to watch the news and all, but I do care about my entertainment. So knowing that my entertainment world is being intruded on, it made me want to get involved. So that's why I'm making this video now, is to tell you, if you've watched the video for this long, go look for yourself. Check some of this stuff out. Tell your friends. And even if you are a teenager, don't think that just because you're a teen that you can't do anything, that you're too dumb to do anything, because you're not. If you understand everything I'm talking about, then you're smart enough to talk. And even though you may not legally be able to vote or get involved politically, you can talk to your parents, you can talk to your family members about it, and bring awareness to them. So I'd say, please, talk to people. Get this message out there, because right now, the way things are going, we'll be in another civil war soon if all these gun bans go through, because there are Americans that will not go along with what's happening, and there are that will. And people are so out of tune with reality that, if we don't start talking about this issue, this is the kind of issue that we were warned about. This is what our founding fathers were scared of. This is a dangerous situation. So I'm not saying take my word for it. I'm saying, go do some research yourselves. Even Sandy Hook, if you actually go look at everything for yourself, it looks staged. I took drama, art, and TV production when I was in high school. And so I know a bit about acting, and I know about, camera angles and techniques, and how effective it can be. Because, that's what you learn in those classes. And it just seems like one big show. and then all the inconsistencies in the reports just don't add up, and you can say, oh yeah, but that was just a few hours later, they were still finding info, and it's like, no, I mean, it doesn't make sense that a reporter on national TV would say, we're now being told 4 handguns were found with the shooter. Then they go to the press conference of the medical examiner saying, oh, the weapon used was a long rifle, when they had already established that that was, in the trunk of the car. It wasn't taken on the school grounds at first. I'm saying, go look for yourself. This was on NBC, by the way. um, so, I just wanted to bring that up and all. Because if we lose that Second Amendment, we lose everything else. And that means our entire dreams and everything we're into. So, whether you're into anime, whether you're into music, it's concerning.